goes up in the ride. Science, magic, side by side. Experiments we can't deny. Let's see how high we can fly. In the lab or in the yard. STEM with Lex, it ain't too hard. We build, we move, we see the spark. Learning here leaves a mark. The science with Lex, come on, join the quest. Hands-on learning, we're the best. Hey, hey, come on kids, let's do the test.
Hi guys, welcome to Lex's STEM Lab. Today we're going over STEM careers, and today I have with me Mr. Letwan Sutton. So thank you for joining us. I want you to get started by just introducing yourself, telling us your name, your profession or title, and where are you from?
Sure. My name is Letwan Sutton. I'm from Rockledge, Florida, obviously a really small city. And currently I am the manager of aviation tax at MySky, which is a software firm specializing in private aviation.
Wow, that's super neat. Thinking back, because me and Letwan, we go way back. We literally go back to elementary school, like a long, long time ago. So thinking back to when we were in school back at Gulfview, what kind of student would you say your teachers would describe you as?
I would say an overachiever and wildly passionate about trying to be the best at everything, right? Um, I can remember we had one in particular, one fourth grade class that was actually mixed with fourth, fifth, and sixth graders, right? And I can remember always wanting to, you know, be smarter than the sixth graders, just so I could say, yeah, I'm just as smart as the sixth graders are, right? So, I definitely say overachiever and very competitive.
I can attest you were very competitive. We used to play hand touch football when we were in pre-K, and you were, yeah, between you and your team, yeah, I
hmm
would not play with you guys again.
Right. The young boys are always going to be like that. And I remember, you may remember Mr. Casey. He used to always throw the football with the guys like every lunch period. Those are always crazy every day. Like I'm pretty sure some days we couldn't play because it used to get so outrageous. So
You know, we were just super excited to play football. It was one thing for Little League, but now we're playing at school, at recess. Like it's
hmm
everything for you guys.
hmm
So what was your least favorite subject in school, and what was your favorite subject? And do you kind of think maybe it had something to do with you going into aviation or not really?
I feel like the least favorite was probably social studies. I don't know why, because I love history now, but in school, social studies was my least favorite subject. Number one was certainly math. Math for sure. Not wasn't even close.
Mm.
But thinking back on it now, I don't think it actually had any bearings on what I ended up doing later on in life. I think because once I got to, I want to say Kennedy, math started getting really difficult, right? It started getting to like algebra and stuff like that, which I handled well, but I think I also realized at that point I didn't truly know what I wanted to do. And I think most kids would attest, like, you probably only wanted to do what you either one thought was cool, or maybe two, what somebody in your family did, whether it was an uncle, dad, mom, cousin, right? So I don't think my favorite subject actually ended up having any bearing on what I do currently in my professional life.
Okay. So what degrees or certifications do you have, and what schools did you get them from?
Mhm. So my first degree was an Associate of Arts from Florida Institute of Technology in Melbourne. Um, I also got a Bachelor's of Science in Aviation Management from Florida Tech. Um, and my graduate degree was a Master's of Business Administration at Florida Tech. Obviously, yeah, lots of Florida Tech, spend a lot of time there. And that was probably my favorite stop for sure, really small school. And then currently I'm studying accounting, a Master's of Accounting at the University of Central Florida.
I thought you were going to hit us with Florida Tech, but all right, UCF,
hmm
I'd love to see it. You switched it up for sure.
hmm
Can you briefly describe your career path? I know, like you said, you kind of came from FIT to UCF and you're doing this degree in accounting. So kind of explain that to us, like how do you go from one to the next?
Absolutely. It all starts first. Got to mention I played collegiate football. Big part of the reason why I went to Florida Tech was because I had an athletic scholarship to go there. So if I don't have that scholarship, I don't think I go to Florida Tech. But obviously that's what happened. So I go to Florida Tech with the intention on being a mechanical engineering student. I was then deterred by my very busy athletic schedule. So I went into general studies for my first year. Um, and then I actually went to a counselor at Florida Tech, and I wanted to go into engineering after my freshman year because I'm like, okay, I'm comfortable. I'm ready to go into engineering. And to my surprise, it wasn't as easy as just telling your advisor that you wanted to go into the engineering school, right? There's actually an application process, and I did not know that you actually start on the classes for your major in your freshman year. So if I went into the engineering program, I would have actually been a year behind because I had just finished my freshman year. So I started looking, and obviously, like my parents didn't have the money for me to waste a year of college, and obviously, I didn't want to waste a year of my scholarship either. So I was thinking about what majors I could do that kind of gave me credit for the year that I had already spent, right? And I had a pretty good GPA too. So there were business, it was business. They also had psychology and aviation were kind of like my three that I had to choose from. So I remember looking at jobs and just seeing what looked appealing. And Florida Tech actually had a aviation program, which is actually quite rare. Most schools in Florida do not have an aviation program. So that stuck out to me. And when I talked to my advisor about it, she kind of gave me all the list of jobs. She's like, hey, there's air traffic controller, there's airport directors, there's airport operations. You have obviously being a pilot is the big one, or a flight attendant, or anything in flight management, right? So she said, what I'll do is I'll give you the intro to aviation course. If you like it, you know, we can move you into aviation management. Long story short, I liked it, moved into aviation management. Also had an air traffic control as my minor. Obviously, I stopped playing. Well, not obviously, I haven't told you guys that. Um, I had an injury that caused me to start on my professional career in academia, in aviation a lot sooner. So once I started working in aviation full time with my classwork, I loved everything about it. I liked the management part. I loved the business acumen, part of my degree program as well. So I ended up getting an internship at Embraer, and that was nearby to my college. Worked an internship, got a job full time right after graduation. I did that for another year. Realized that I didn't like engineering. Maybe we'll get into that more a little bit later. I actually ended up in engineering, even though I didn't major in it. And then I went back to school to get my MBA, as mentioned before. And that's when I got introduced to aviation tax. Started working in tax, learned a lot. And then I got to a point where I'm now a manager of an aviation tax department at the software firm, right? And I realized that next step for me was actually to become a certified public accountant. So I actually had to enroll in some more accounting courses. And that's how I ended up at the University of Central Florida. So I know that's a long way of saying like how I ended up at UCF for an accounting program, but that's actually how it happened.
Well, I love that. And I know you said before math wasn't, a subject that you would have picked, and look at you now doing
Hmm. Right. And then
so
some.
funny. And then some,
Mhm.
absolutely, especially with accounting. What are some of the key skills that you need for this type of profession or going into accounting, or even that you've
Mhm.
kind of gone over the years from these different career settings? What would you say?
I would say, especially considering what I do, I'm not like the job that I do day in and day out, I'm not on my feet all the time, right? So it takes one, you have to have a very calm, relaxed demeanor because you can't obviously sit and type and read all day long if you're not a somewhat calm person, right? Or if you're, I like to label myself as an omnivert. So I'm extroverted in certain situations. I'm introverted in certain situations. And that makes it to where I can be doing like essentially I'm an accountant, right? So I'm sitting down for long periods of time, by myself for long periods of time. Obviously, I have video meetings and phone calls and things like that. But I will say you have to be very persistent. Well, let me just say this first. Soft skills are paramount to the job that I do. So you have to be patient. There has to be diligence. You have to be able to think on your feet. So obviously, if someone's like asking you a question, you have to be able to recall from your memory really quickly or be able to find information really quickly. Um, I would say a big one too, but I think this goes with any job is being coachable. I know a lot of my athletes are gonna say, "Oh yeah, I've heard that one before," but no matter what you do, especially early on in your career, whether it's football, engineering, aviation, you have to be able to learn from someone. And obviously, you can't start up on that. When you start, you aren't going to know everything, right? So someone's going to have to teach you everything, even if you have a degree. I have a master's degree, and people will probably think I'm telling people what to do. No, I listen to people probably 80, 90% of the time, even with the academic accolades that I have. A degree is really just a stepping stone for helping you get into a career. It's not the end all be all. And a lot of times, getting those degrees are the very beginning of what you're going to actually learn, right? So the diligence, the patience, the coachability, and then obviously later on, you're going to have to be able to teach people. And then, oh, the biggest one is definitely going to be the consistency. No matter what it is, you have to be able to show up day in and day out. There might be work that you don't necessarily like, but you have to find meaning in it somehow, right? And you have to be able to have fun to some degree and see that the things you're doing on a day-to-day basis are actually getting you somewhere, right? You might not realize it now, but it's actually getting you somewhere. So consistency is a huge one.
That's right, snaps and claps. Absolutely.
Mhm.
Did you have any mentors or any role models who inspired you?
Oh, I think I had, there were a lot. So I remember I played football. It was honestly just the people in the grades above me, right? I can remember like when I was a freshman, we had like Joe Brown and all those people. We had like TJ Rodriguez. A lot of these people actually came from like Rockledge Little League and things like that. So I always looked up to those people. And then I got a little bit older and I started looking up to business leaders, right? That was like a natural progression for me. Other than obviously the people I looked up at to on the football team, I started looking up to business leaders. I also started to look up to people that were kind of figureheads at my school, right? So like some of my professors would give really good advice and still really good things into me. I looked up to people in the church because I always felt like they had a lot of wisdom, really good advice, and a lot of them had been in my shoes before. And then lately, it's been actually the boss that I work for now at my company that I work for now, which is MySky. Um, Guy is a book of knowledge, and he's always willing to share. So I would say I've probably had different role models at every stage of my life, but I think what's important when you're identifying one is to be able to have multiple in different areas of your life that you want to get better at, right? Some people might be really good at accountability. Some might be really good at, they might be very intellectual and can like get you maybe reading books or like deciphering knowledge. Some people are just very emotionally supportive, right? They might help you figure out tough areas in your life, maybe areas you need to improve. Maybe those are the type of people that can hold a mirror up to you and tell you the things that you need to hear. But I certainly had a lot. It started with my coaches, then it became professors, and then it became bosses in my professional career. So yeah, probably at every stage, and it changes probably every few years too.
I love that you mentioned that. You do end up meeting people at every stage, and there is always somebody you can look up to, somebody that has more knowledge than you that can help you and almost mentor you in
Mhm.
the right direction. So that was such a great step to have. What does a day in a life for you look like?
Yeah, it's honestly so I work from home, so it isn't going to be super complex here. Working from home, one thing that you have to kind of learn, especially I've been doing it for 3 years. So I've been working from home for a long time. You have to figure out ways of going to work in your home, right? So for me, it's waking up, brushing my teeth, obviously washing my face, and I'm a fitness junkie. So usually I'm gonna go to the gym or I'm gonna go on a walk or a run or something of that sorts. I'll get home. Typically, if I have time, most of my meetings start usually after 10 a.m. for the most part. So I usually have time to make a really quick breakfast, usually like sausage or eggs, or I'm big on bacon sometimes, chorizo, things like that. Bagels and fruit. Really huge on fruit. I feel like that gives me a lot of energy. And then typically I'll have my first meeting around 10 a.m. I usually have to field some days one call, some days it might be 4 or 5 calls, typically for my clients. And then when I'm not in meetings or answering phone calls, I am actually doing work in spreadsheets and within my company software that we built to be able to do these calculations that we do on day in and day out basis. Um, I also have two people who technically work under me. So, usually once or twice a day, I'll check on them to make sure everything is going to course. And then typically I'm logging off from anywhere from 5 to 6 or 6:30 p.m. in the day. So usually about 8, 9, 10 hours on a heavy day. So that's what a typical day looks like for me. And then winding down, obviously, when I get out of work, being able to cook something for myself. I'm big on cooking my own meals. Obviously, being a wind down for the day, clean up a little bit. Um, and then of their sports, obviously, I'll watch football at night or basketball or something like that. Just something to get me out of the headspace of work. So, yeah,
And then what kind of problems do you solve at work?
sure. Um, okay, so I'll try to adjust this to like the normal everyday people type of scenario. This is how I like to paint the picture first, right? You, when you're an employee of any company, you're essentially employed to solve problems, right? If you work at McDonald's and I don't know, you're a cashier, your job is to ensure you're obviously recording the order appropriately, taking the money, giving back the correct change, and then making sure that person gets the right order. In my case, what I do for my clients is I'm providing calculations for them to include on their company's tax returns, right? So essentially, what I'm doing is helping them stay in compliance with very complex regulations that typically come from the IRS, right? The Internal Revenue Service, which is just the company that obviously makes sure everybody's paying their appropriate amount of taxes. So my clients call me for anything from figuring out how much a flight costs for their executive to asking, if a way they've labeled something, and by label something, they have to basically tell me like where people are going, why are they going there? Then I have to calculate those taxes. So a lot of times they will ask me, hey, if I do this, what happens? If I do this, what happens? So essentially, I'm just giving these clients kind of like a clear head when they're thinking through these complex business scenarios as it relates to aviation. So, no, that's kind of tough to digest for most people, but I'm just a glorified aviation accountant in a in a nutshell.
You're solving problems day by
Mhm.
day. Not all heroes wear capes.
Right?
Can you tell us something funny that's happened to you at work recently? Or something
Ooh,
that you can remember?
let's see. Mm, I don't even know if it's funny, but I find it funny. Um, Usually, so I have a handful of clients, more than I can count on two hands. I think it's always funny to see, like, usually they'll call you and they're like, "I hope this isn't a bad time," or something like that. When obviously you can't tell them it's a bad time. There is no bad time. The customer is always right, right?
Mhm.
So they're calling and say, "Yeah, hopefully this isn't a bad time," before unloading like 3 hours worth of work on me. So it's not funny, but I find it funny that they'll call you like, "Hey, how are you?" "I'm good." "Well, got some work."
I know
So
they're like opening up a big bag for you. Like,
mhm,
here.
every
Oh, that's
time.
wonderful that you can handle that.
Hmm.
What kind of tools or equipment or even technology? You did mention the software from your business that you kind
Hmm.
of use on a daily basis. Is there anything else besides the software?
Yes, I think something that we have to mention today that's huge now is artificial intelligence, right? That's something that I use to make my job significantly easier, whether it's responding to emails. A big part of my job is being able to interpret regulations. So typically I'll copy and paste straight into generative AI and I'm telling Chat GPT or something like that, hey, break this down in, normal terms for normal people. So it's like easily digestible. So generative AI is huge. I would say another one, obviously we have software, so I'm working in that every day. That's aviation specific and it's actually specific for all of our clients. So I'm doing that every day. Obviously you have Zoom. We're on Zoom now. I use Google Meets on the daily. What else? I do also use um what I say is like productivity trackers. Not It's not tracking how long I spend doing certain tasks, but it'll kind of just give me updates on like the things that I have on my to-do list, how long they might take, and based on, my work hours, the expected time that I could finish. So if a client is calling me to ask me, when his reports will be done or when her reports will be done, I can tell them, hey, according to my schedule, this is what it looks like works, right? Then I think the last one is just a virtual assistant, which just helps you with scheduling meetings. So those are the big ones for me. I know it's actually quite a few, but working in them every day, they just become normal. So certainly
Some of those in your personal life too?
not as much. And the reason is because I like to treat my personal life a little bit more ad hoc. I don't like to plan everything. I don't like to be, super meticulous with where I'm going, when I'm going, who's going. I like to essentially, when it's stuff for personal reasons, I just like to go with the flow, right? Obviously, I'll still have a sim a semblance of a plan, but I don't want to say 10 a.m. I'm here, 12 p.m. I'm here, 2 p.m. I gotta be here. Like I hate that, especially on the weekends. So my weekends are free flowing and usually after work is free flowing too. So I don't really use those tools for personal reasons, except for maybe generative AI. If I'm like, I don't know, looking for a cool new place to eat or trying to figure out an answer to a question that came up in my head, right? So not as much in personal, but lots for business.
For sure. What would you say is the most rewarding and the most challenging aspects within your job?
Yes. Start with the most challenging. The most challenging has got to be you're not going to know everything, right? No matter what job you do, no matter how much experience you have, there's always going to be a situation where you don't know the answer, right? And I think the tough thing is admitting sometimes that you don't know the answer or being willing to find whatever the answer is. So, I know in my job, usually every day, like something's gonna come up that I don't necessarily know the answer to, but it creates a growth opportunity, right? A chance to like learn something new, figuring out how to handle a situation, and over time, that actually turns out to be a good thing. But it's hard in the moment. The most rewarding has to be actually seeing where my work goes, right? So a lot of my clients are Fortune 500 companies. And for people who don't know what Fortune 500 means, it's just if you made a list of the 500 most influential, powerful companies in the United States, those are the 500 companies. I would say probably all of my clients are in the Fortune 500. So the advice that they're getting from me helps them run their business in the correct way. So being able to say like, yeah, I'm the person that helped them with these issues, or if I'm ever looking at their stuff, that some of the stuff that they post is actually public, being able to go look at it and say like, hey, I gave them those numbers is always pretty humbling for me. So that's what I'd say is the most rewarding.
Super impressive. Congrats.
Mhm.
Outside of work, what are some of your favorite hobbies or activities? I know you mentioned working out. What else are you
Yeah.
in?
That's a big one. I do read a good bit when I'm not in school. All right. If I'm in school, I'm probably not reading because I'm already doing reading for school. Um, but when school isn't in, I'm very into reading. I'm starting to get into fiction a little bit more. Obviously, I'm a guy, so I love nonfiction. Um, Also starting to get a little bit more into like music, checking out music, like especially when it comes to music before my time. And even like some of the modern music, right? I think I'm starting to get to an age where I don't know all of the modern music, which is crazy to say. I'm like, we aren't even that old, but just really like getting into music, getting into the artistry, trying to put myself through like how people have made certain art. How it came to be, the influences behind that. So music is a big one for me, starting to get into art a little bit more. And honestly, just anything where I can be creative, right? I've even thought about um blogging. I've had some experience with content creation. So just things that keep me intellectually stimulated, which are not in a box by any means, but that's why I love reading. That's why I love art. And that's why I love like making content when I can. It just it gets those creative juices going. And I think that helps you in the long run to avoid burnout from work because you kind of have to have two in your life to be able to get away from the other. So
Absolutely. It's so funny that you mentioned content creation. I remember after project graduation, you won, what was it, the GoPro, right? Did you?
yeah, I had that for a few years, and then I don't know. I remember I had it, but at that time, I didn't have the time to actually like record appropriately with it and get the most use out of it. So I actually gave it away. But I did win that. And for that summer when I had a free time, I used it a lot. But that's probably where the bug started, to be honest with you.
Really?
Hmm.
Hmm. I'm telling you, it's those small things in your passion, like, huh, this doesn't matter. It's going to come back
Hmm.
up in six different ways and
Hmm.
you're not even going to notice.
Yes, it really does.
So after a long day of work, what are some different shows, movies, books, or even songs are you kind of loving right now or that you're watching or listening to?
Sure. Let's see. Let's start with shows. Um, Everybody can't watch this, all right? I know it's rated R, but I'm really big into crime shows. So I love like Power is a big one for me. Sons of Anarchy, I've watched that before. On the other side, I would say I'm really big on documentaries, of all different types too, right? Whether it could be about sports, it could be about it's crazy. I said it before. I didn't like social studies in school, but I like it now. I like learning about like a World War II or the Vietnam War, the different presidents that have obviously served the country. Um, and then on the other side, like I love a good I still watch cartoons from time to time. I think that's just a really good release of, not being able to take yourself so seriously. When it comes to music, I think I'm big into historically I've always been into hip hop, right? One of my favorite artists is actually J. Cole. And this actually has a bearing on like how I ended up because when I was in college, like there's a lot of rappers, but there weren't a lot of rappers that were college students. Like J. Cole was a college student making music about stuff that college students went through, and then obviously after college, he became a really successful rapper. But if you listen to like a lot of his old stuff, he's like talking about how it was to like write papers, getting internships, obviously, making his professors proud and stuff like that. Like he talks about all of that stuff. So for as bad a rap as a lot of rap and hip hop gets nowadays, he was actually like one of the people that helped me through my college experience because I felt like listening to him, like, yeah, he went through it, I could go through it. Um, Really big in R&B, starting to get into the jazz wave a little bit. I mix it up a lot. Like I'll listen to some EDM here and there. I'll listen to like some soft pop. Um, but yeah, I like to say like at this point in my life, I'm just like open to experiences, right? Things that I'm not familiar with. Because I realized I grew up in a box essentially. And I realized that, there's a lot more finer things in life, right? Different types of music, different types of things to enjoy. So, if I could give any advice to the people out there, just enjoy things that aren't considered normal to you, because it's normal to somebody else. And if you ever meet people in the world and you've kind of opened yourself up, it makes it easier to network with those people, get to know those people. A lot of people that have gone to college know exactly what I'm talking about, because you're meeting people that aren't exactly like you. You might have some commonalities, but you being able to relate to them, whether it's a show, a movie, music, art, how you grew up, like all of those things become important later on in life, because those are the people that are gonna may help you be able to get a job, right? May help you be able to start your business, may help you get that first internship. It's your connections. And one thing I've noticed is that having strong connections relates to the things that you've done in your life and being able to share those with people and connect that way. So, yep, those are my big ones.
That's wonderful. So if bills and responsibilities didn't exist for you, do you think you'd go in a completely different direction as far as careers, or what do you think you could see yourself doing?
Oh, that's so tough to answer. The reason is because I think I'm good at a lot of things, right? And then there are some things that I guess are you would consider my passion. Um, but they aren't always super realistic, right? Like I'm really into fitness. So yeah, I could probably see myself being a trainer if I wasn't doing aviation or accounting work. Um, but at the same time, I also think that, I get good things out of both. And I also think like it's popular to say like, oh, do what you're passionate about, put what you're passionate about. And I think a lot of times you kind of want to keep what you're passionate about like near and dear to you. Maybe when that turns into something that you have to do in your day-to-day work and this how you pay your bills, it's not, you don't get the same kick out of it, right? Not to say that you shouldn't chase your passion, but I always say like, sometimes you just have to do what you can do until you can maybe get to what you're passionate about, right? Like, I absolutely like what I do in a lot of ways. I say like if 10 means I'm passionate and one is like I don't care at all, I would say I'm probably like 7 or 8. So I actually like it. But are there other things that I probably have more fun doing? Sure. But I think that's something where when you grow up too, there are things that you probably would have more. You probably didn't want to do your homework, did you? But you had to do your homework, simply because it means more for your future to do the homework than maybe, I don't know, watching wrestling on the TV or going outside with your friends and riding your bike. Obviously, there's benefits to both, but just being able to see like down the line what works out, you should always kind of divide your time, I will say like equitably or by what makes sense. And that's kind of how I do it now. Like my day-to-day work, aviation accounting, I keep that over there. And then when I have free time, or if I have time to do a side gig, I'll actually do personal training on the side. So that's how I like to see it for myself.
Nice. So if we were to be making a TV show right now called The Letwan Show, and it's
Sure.
starring you, what would be the theme song?
Mm,
Or just kicking it with Letwan, like just Jordan, but just Letwan?
what would be my theme song?
Hmm.
It's like I think about like Will Smith and the Prince of Bel Air. I'm like, how can I twist that into something that I would like? I'm not sure. I'm like, you definitely have to throw like, I don't know, something about football in there. You got to throw something in about obviously being dedicated and having a work ethic. Um, Dang, mine might be I don't know if people have ever, I mean, it was a popular song back in the day. But it was called Ambition by Wale. That'll probably be mine. Like, people love me for my ambition. Ambition. It'd probably have to be something like that, because
I
that's
love that.
that's kind of vibe that I go for.
Shout out to Wale, not
Right.
Wale. Absolutely. What kind of advice do you think you could give students who are interested in STEM but haven't found a topic or a subject that really fits them just yet?
hmm Yeah, I would say a lot of times with most careers, it just comes down to exposure. So any way that you can be exposed to it is really like I remember I want to say at Golf U we went to NASA, right? So we were learning a lot about rockets, what took to get them off the ground and things like that, and like boosters, gravity, all of that stuff. So I'm sure a lot of kids probably sparked some interest right there. And they're like, oh, I want to be an astronaut now, right? That didn't happen for me. I don't know about other people, but I was like, it's cool, but it's not that cool to me. I think just really being able to get into it and test it. I think some schools do a good job at that, of making you feel what it would be like to be like engulfed in the subject. Usually that's how kids know they don't like it. But I think also another barrier to it is like, especially kids in certain communities, if your friends don't think it's cool, sometimes it's hard to say, "Oh, I like this," right? If none of your friends like science, and you're the one that's like, "Oh yeah, like we're talking about science today, or we're talking about planets," and all your other friends are like, "Yeah, we just want to go to recess." It's hard to like it. So I would say like, one, be your own person and realize that the topics that you like, all of your friends don't have to like, and that's okay. Being different is actually a good thing for anybody. When you grow up, you'll realize how much being different actually does for your life. Like I realize it now, but maybe at a point in time, yeah, I wasn't, I don't know, the cool kid. I play football and things like that, but I wasn't always considered the cool kid, right? So just being exposed to these things, and like when you're in school, actually apply yourself to these things and listen to the teacher. Even if it seems boring at first, like try to get through it and have your own mind. Like don't be a follower, be a leader. I know it's cliche, but if you like something, you genuinely like it, run with that and continue to, when the teacher brings it up, ask questions, volunteer to do things or volunteer to help other people. I think that's what's important. And a lot of kids are also, they're always deterred by what their friends don't like, right? Even if they may like it. So follow your own instincts. And if you like something, do not be afraid to say you like it. Tell your parents, tell your teachers, tell your other classmates, and teach them. And obviously, I think later on, they'll actually see, oh, maybe I do like science because, John likes science and he has fun with it. So, that's where the competition comes in. So,
Great advice. Great advice. So, is there a way that parents or students can reach out to you to learn more about your organization or your field, or even just some of your different hobbies, your
mhm.
personal training?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I'll say a few ways. So my LinkedIn is under my name. If you just search Letwan Sutton, Letwan, Sutton on at the last name, it'll pop up right at the top. So that's a really good, easy way to find me. Add me on LinkedIn. I realize not everybody has LinkedIn. So you can also email me at suttonletwan@gmail.com. And I usually always respond, especially if it's an email from a person that I recognize. And then the third way would probably be my Instagram. So my Instagram is Letwan Sutton on there. So you can follow me, you can send me a DM. I'll always respond. So those are the easiest ways to get to me.
Perfect. All right. Thank you so much, Latwan, for letting us interview you. We got to pick your brain, learn more about you. It was so great getting you in the lab with Lex.
Thanks for having me. See you.
We'll see you the next time.